Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we can have a look at the latest from the live radar, run for the UKV, have a look at the precipitation and the temperature over the next 5 days, as it's looking likely to be quite widely dry, with conditions in terms of temperatures improving as this week goes on. Now you notice through today, if you do go out and about, that it's for most areas, apart from perhaps Scotland, fairly dry and fairly sunny, but those temperatures aren't all too high. And that's because the upper air temperatures high up in the atmosphere are quite cold, which means at the surface it doesn't get all too warm. The temperatures widely in sort of the mid-teens today, maybe higher teens in a few isolated spots. And we've got a bit of an easterly flow as well, which takes a little bit off those temperatures too. So right now it's really quite nice out there, but the temperatures aren't all too great. They will be increasing as we do head towards the end of the week. The only risk we do have is perhaps some decaying weather fronts could become a bit of an influence in the north and west. We'll have a look at that in detail in a minute. As we head into Longrange, as we head into the second half of May now, as we see on the GFS, GME, CWF and the Ensembles, this pattern for warmer upper air temperatures and generally dry conditions is continuing. We did see it in yesterday's video, and we're going to see more runs today, which do produce some really quite strong high pressure systems as we do head beyond. The GFS midnight run today, the latest run that is out as I'm recording this, has a really nice high pressure system that would give widely amazing conditions to end May. Mid-20s, wall-to-wall sunshine, absolutely amazing conditions. Again, it's one run. Most runs probably don't have a similar sort of high-pressure system building, but it just shows you that is the sort of trends as we do head towards the end of May. So if you are looking forward to something a bit warmer and drier, there are good signs at the moment. No guarantees, but good signs. So, do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So as I said, if we do start on the live radar, you can see it is pretty much bone dry for most areas at the moment, bar from some showers through Scotland. Some of these quite heavy. Again, always in the north and west, closer to the jet stream, closer to Atlantic systems, always going to have a higher risk of these showers. They are spreading a little bit into Northern Ireland, but most other areas, as I said, are bone dry. Really quite nice. And you can see most of northern France and western France as well, down into Iberia. And that is because we've got a big high pressure system extending up from the Azores out in the mid-Atlantic. And we've got that cut-off low that we were thinking perhaps about a week ago. We were thinking right now this cut-off low could have been giving some heavier rain in the southeast. As you can see, it is 1,000 miles or so away, all these heavy showers and thunderstorms, meaning that parts of southern and southeastern Europe get peppered, but for the UK, we stay fairly dry. But because we do have that cut-off low, the general flow is in from the east, which is why those temperatures aren't all too high. Recording this around midday, and you can see the best temperatures are perhaps through parts of southern England, maybe even into parts of Scotland away from those showers, and it's just widely yellows with a sprinkling of blues, and you can see that is around that sort of mid-teens mark, around the 14 to 16 degree mark, slightly higher in a few isolated spots, slightly lower in other areas. And you can see that's pretty much the same across most of northern Europe here, as we are dragging in cooler air in from the Baltic, with cooler upper air temperatures coming in, sort of originating from the Arctic, but coming around the high pressure system through Norway, perhaps into the Baltic, Denmark, Germany, then towards the UK. So if we do now have a look at the UKV and see what is in store over the next few days, now you can see through this afternoon we have a few showers in the north, but they should degrade away through this evening, not coming to much. As we head into tomorrow, as I said, there is the risk that we do see a few weather fronts starting to push into the north, but they really should only skirt Scotland there. And tomorrow again is a widely dry day, perhaps a bit more cloud associated with that, but for England and Wales and Republic of Ireland there should be some cloud breaks quite widely. As we do head into Thursday, again, could be another weather front trying to push in, but it's decaying once again. And the biggest thing with this is it probably will give quite a lot of thick cloud in place. It does decay away, and the rain will be light and patchy. It does progress inwards into early hours of Friday. Again, could be some rain, a few heavier showers through the evening with that and the afternoon. But most areas, again, generally pretty dry and a lot of sunshine around. By this point, we are starting to drag in warmer air masses. That westerly flow is taking away the easterly flow, and that will mean the upper air temperatures do increase. A generally warmer air direction. It's not that warm, but it is warmer than an easterly at this time of year, so it will give those temperatures a bit of a boost towards the end of the week. Could be reaching 20 degrees in the drier spells. And as we head into Saturday, once again, another weather front skirting along the north, and again decaying away as it does. So the UKV definitely correcting the position of the high pressure slightly southwards and eastwards at the moment, and that will bring these weather fronts in. But you can see they really do struggle as they're progressing. They really do decay away. So it's just going to be one of those. We're just going to have to keep a really, really close eye on what happens with it and its exact positioning as we do progress later this week. But for most of England and Wales, and even areas further north as westwards, there will be plenty of dry weather this week, plenty of sunnier weather, and hopefully something a bit warmer as we do head to the end of the week. Now you can have a look at the upper air temperatures. You can see right now it's fairly chilly, and it's because we've got an easterly flow coming in. But as we head through the rest of this week, those upper air temperatures slowly climb. By Wednesday into Thursday, starting to get into the low single digits for upper air temperatures, which is starting to edge back towards average, which is around 3 to 5 degrees, depending on the area in the country. So we're sort of average by Thursday in terms of upper air temperatures, and we start to perhaps climb above average, maybe into the weekend, getting up towards maybe 5-6 degrees in a few spots. So nothing crazy in terms of upper air temperatures in the next 5 days, but with strong sunshine out there, as you'll probably feel like today, it does feel a lot warmer when we do have a lot of blue skies and sunny weather. Now, if you look at max temperatures, you can see through this afternoon peaking, as said, widely mid-teens, maybe 16, 17 degrees in a few spots. Not that warm, but with the sunshine out there, it will probably feel quite pleasant. Get a bit of cloud, get a bit of shade, and the wind picks up a bit. It will probably feel quite cold out there as well. As we head into Wednesday, pretty similar, again, widely mid-teens, maybe more, getting towards that 17, 18 degrees, more regions there, but still pretty similar average conditions really in most places. As we head into Thursday, once again pretty dry and turning slightly warmer, especially for England and Wales, more 18s, 19s and even a few 20s there. Again, that's not ridiculous, but considering what we have had recently over the past few months in general, where we've really struggled to get anything that warm, this will be fairly nice out there. Again, northwards and westwards, under the rain, under some cloud, it won't feel all too great, but I do want to put a caveat there because these decaying weather fronts can not exist at all. They could be moved away, or they could have decayed a lot faster. So these temperatures are very much dependent on the cloud and rain amounts, and those cloud and rain amounts are highly variable at this sort of lead time. If you look into Friday now, again pretty similar. We saw on the precipitation chart there was a few heavy thundery showers, and that's why the temperatures are more scattered, very up and down. Some areas 14, 15 degrees, but again, if you avoid those showers, where it says 14 degrees, will probably be 18 or 19. So again, another day where we will see 18 to 20 degrees, where if we do see sunshine and dry weather, we'll just have to avoid those showers. And finally, as we head into Saturday, probably the best day, as I said, increasing as we go beyond the week, widely 18 to 20 degrees. Really quite nice and warm there. Again, Scotland, Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland may be missing out. But once again, that is all dependent on cloud and rain amounts, which are, as I said, very highly variable at this stage. So do now have a look at the Longrange, see what that is in store over the course of the next few weeks. You see the high pressure is in at the moment, slack easterly or northeasterly flow coming in off the North Sea, that's why it's a little bit chilly. But as we head towards the end of this week, we do see high pressure building in from the west. Again, low pressure could skirt northern areas, and that's why you see a bit of rain there, but we're mostly under high pressure. High pressure builds in with a warmer air mass, and it gives us generally warmer conditions through the weekend and start of next week. That's always extending off the Azores, which always brings a risk of a bit of an easterly flow, or a bit of cooler air coming around the edge, or a low pressure system dropping down into the North Sea. So we do always have that risk. But as we head beyond that, the high pressure actually moves to sit over the top of us, and low pressure actually now sits out towards the Azores. And this will make all the difference. This would be beautiful, warm, even some areas could be quite hot, sunny weather. With the wind coming in from the southeast, there could be even some thunderstorms maybe at times, but generally this would be sort of a late May heat wave, really, with these sort of synoptics. Again, we look at the upper air temperatures over the next few days. They're not going to be anything great. Average, maybe slightly above, slightly below at times. But as we progress towards the last few days of May, those upper air temperatures climb to around 10 degrees, 850 HPA, perhaps even higher, touching 15 degrees at times. That would be incredibly warm as we do head towards the end of May. Again, look at those temperature deviations. Good 8 to 10 degrees above average, in a few spots. Potential equivalent temperature showing that those so it is a warm air mass with yellows building in instead of the blues that we've had recently. And if we do zoom into the United Kingdom and have a look at those 2 metre temperatures, if we run it back actually to like the 24th, you can see there high teens, low 20s, 25th, getting towards the low 20s, 21 to 23, into 26th, again low 20s, maybe touching mid 20s, 24, and again turning slightly cooler there as we do perhaps build some thunderstorms in. But you can see that widely low to mid 20s there. Again, you can't expect much higher than that for this sort of high pressure system this time of year. And of course, these GFS runs will be sort of slightly underdoing it, probably be slightly higher. So that sort of pattern would give widely low 20s, getting up towards the mid 20s, persistent as well. Not just the odd day here or there, persistent low to mid 20s. And with the Fern effect here, where we do see southeasterly flow coming in, the hottest temperatures by the end of May could actually be over Scotland with this sort of pattern. But I don't want to look at this in too much detail, simply because this is 240 hours plus this pattern to start. It is certainly a viable outcome, but it's not guaranteed at this stage. Definitely do think high pressure will be building in, but will it build in like this with a warm air mass, with a good warm wind direction? We'll have to see. But definitely suggesting that something quite warm, something quite dry could be on the cards to end May. If you look at the GEM now, see how that does compare. Again, high pressure building in, continuing to be in control over the coming days. And you see generally high pressure stays in control, but briefly low pressure systems could skirt through. You can see the colours blue brighten, showing perhaps the upper troughs skirting around. And right towards day 10, we do see that high pressure build in. A bit of an easterly flow though, which may take a little bit of a hit off those temperatures, but the upper temperature climbing to 10 degrees 850 HPA above average. And if we do zoom into the United Kingdom, look onto the 25th, widely mid to high teens. And again, it's those easterly flow that's just taking a hit off those temperatures, because you can see across Southern Ireland, it's probably the most sheltered area for easterly winds, the furthest away place from that North Sea, the cold North Sea, where it's only 9 or 10 degrees, getting up into the low 20s. So if that wind direction was slightly different, instead of being sort of 18 to 20 degrees across England and Wales, it probably would be sort of 22 to 24 degrees. So warm, very dry, just perhaps slightly taking off those temperatures in a few spots because it's an easterly flow. But we'll, of course, firm that up nearer the time if this pattern does come off. If we finish for the longer range charts, have a look at the ECMWF. Again, high pressure is building in and continuing to stay in control over the coming days. Again, could be easterly winds as we do head into early next week. But as I said, with an extension of the Azores high, you always have the risk of cold air coming around the eastern edge of the high pressure system and low pressure moving in, and that's what happens here on the ECMWF. Now, the low pressure doesn't fully drop into the North Sea, doesn't give us a very unsettled spell, but it will give us briefly colder conditions and briefly unsettled conditions in the north. You can see that cold air moves in, that would really put a hit to those temperatures back down to mid to low teens in many spots, and beyond that, staying with a cooler northerly flow. Again, you can look at the temperature deviation, it is a good 6 to potentially even 8 degrees below average, really not great as that does progress in. But as I said, there's one scenario, again, very similar to the GFS run, which was on the warm end. This will be on the very cold end for this sort of pattern, and again, all dependent on the positioning of that extension of the Azores high. But there is definitely some backing for this, as we'll see in the ensembles now. As you can see, over the course of the next 5 days, we generally average to slightly below average, but it won't feel too cold out there. Again, a little bit chilly in places, but most areas with strong sunshine will feel fairly decent. Some precipitation spikes in with risk of a bit of convection here or there, but we're not expecting anything too much apart from northern and western areas where there could be some decaying weather fronts. As you head towards early next week, so the weekend and start of next week, the upper temperatures do rise as the high pressure system builds in, but you can see around the day 10 point, we could see a brief drop in those upper air temperatures. That's where the ECMWF does bring that colder air mass. So it's a bit of a split here. Half ensemble members go high, half go cooler. So we'll just have to see what happens with that, because that could take a bit of a hit off those temperatures for a few days. But majority of Ensemble members do go average to well above average as we do head towards the last few days of May, and the precipitation signal is still really quite low. Again, it won't be the same for Glasgow. Higher precipitation signal at times, if we do look at the midnight run. Slightly higher precipitation signal, but of course they're always going to be slightly closer to those cooler, more unsettled conditions to our north and our west. If we do go back to London, just have a look at the 2 metre temperatures from that midnight run. Of course, the 6 o'clock run has come out, but it's only come out sort of 7 days, so it's not really too viable. You can see into the longer range, lots of runs getting towards that 20-degree mark, and even higher, some getting towards the 25-degree mark. And again, Ensemble members and these long range operational runs always do have a bit of a couple of degree deviation, so they don't always take into sort of microclimate conditions in certain areas. So always take these temperatures with a bit of a pinch of salt, but they do give you the general idea. And look at the sea level pressure. Again, generally higher pressure, around 1,020 millibars or above from the majority of Ensemble members as we do progress onwards. Still some lower pressure members, but the average, the mean from the Ensemble members is around 1,020 or above pretty consistently. And if we finally look at the ECMWF ensembles, you can see generally average, slightly below average in the next 5 days, but it won't feel too cold as again with that strong sunshine. Upper temperatures do rise as we do above average as we head into early next week. There's that brief dip with the operational run showing it, but majority are still generally around average, and then we continue to rise beyond that. Now, if we do look at the big thing on this chart is this spike here from the control run for precipitation. We've got a huge amount of precipitation there from the control run, 40 millimeters there in the space of 6 hours. That would be a ridiculous amount of rain. Again, probably associated with a low pressure skirting through the southeast. So again, just ignore that. It's a bit of an anomalous run, but very interesting seeing that regardless. Precipitation is still generally quite low, higher than the GFS, as I continue to say. We've got 50 Ensemble members here compared to 30 on the GFS. So there's always going to be more precipitation spikes appearing here, but it still is pretty consistent to the GFS. So no signs of anything ridiculously hot. The GFS operational run was really warm, if not quite hot, getting towards sort of heat wave conditions, as you could call it. Majority, though, are average to above average in the longer term, more towards below average in the short term. But the big thing with that is it's generally dry, generally quite sunny, so it does mean that sunshine does make up for those cooler upper air temperatures a lot of the time. So it will feel even quite warm this week, even though it's not ridiculously high in terms of the actual temperatures, and it will continue to trend warmer as we do head to the end of May. So it's looking pretty decent. Pretty good signs as we do head towards the end of May. Something a bit drier, a bit warmer, and sustained warm and dry conditions potentially. And we will just have to continue to see. Of course, there could be some wobbles, there could be some changes, and I'll keep you updated. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.